there's all of our submissions for World Childless Week. But there's other things too, and it's just a case of go there and then find one of the branches on the website and go to where you need to go. So there's lotteries, so there's literacy, so we can all find something that hopefully helps us in what we need at that moment in time, because that moment does change.
Welcome to the Full Stop podcast. We're an award-winning monthly podcast talking about topics related to involuntary childlessness. The podcast is presented by Michael Hughes, Sarah Lawrence and me, Berenice Howard-Smith. The Full Stop podcast delves into the many facets that make up the childless identity, as well as what's going on in the wider community. We hope that you can find your own narrative with our help and with the words of our guests. We also aim to educate those who do not identify as childless, so that they can begin to understand and support those in their lives who may be facing a life without children. In this episode, we're joined by Steph Phillips, founder of World Childless Week, to talk about the themes for 2024 and how this annual week has given a voice to many in the childless community. Welcome to the madness of the Full Stop. Yeah, things upgraded since you were last here. And it's all fine, really. It's all okay.
New system, new chaos.
This must be... How many times have you been on
the podcast? I don't know.
How many times have you been on the podcast?
I think this is the third time.
Yeah, you've also been on Christmas. Yeah, you've been on the Christmas episode as well. You did a bit for that too. One of them that we did way back first thing. But actually, probably one of our first or second Christmases, I think. So yeah, you're probably one of our most frequent guests.
Oh, well, it doesn't really say anything, but I'm back.
Popular. It's that sort of thing. Sometimes you go into companies and you're there and you turn up so often you get like a certificate. There's no certificates around here, but welcome. It's lovely to have you with us. Yeah. How many years of World Childless Week now?
This is the 8th year, which is pretty amazing.
Wow.
I know. I just said, crikey, if I last for another 2, I better do something big. The pressure's on if I get to the 10th year, I reckon.
Wow. I know year 10. What do you think you'll do? Do you have any ideas for that?
No. Please put them on a postcard. Like the worldchildlessweek.net. No, I'm sure something will do.
You heard it. My goodness me. That is incredible. That is quite incredible. 8 years. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's just amazing.
Everybody, isn't it? It's like the whole community, because yes, I can run it, but if I don't get submissions, it's a pity. Another quiet World Childless Week. So it's all of us, including all of you, that have actually made it from year dot to where it is now. So it's exciting, but it's heartwarming to see how much it has grown, how it develops, and how in a way it's the same as it already originally was. The message is still the same, but it's for all of us, not one of us. And I think that's what its strength is, that people know they can come in 1 year, not hover again. No, it come in 1 year, come in the 3rd year, and go from anonymous to putting their name on something, and then come back to me and go, can I be anonymous this year? I'm like, you can do what the hell you like. Do you know what I mean? Because I organise it, but in a way, it's the community that sends submissions that run it in a way. If that makes some sort of weird sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. 6 minute stuff.
Well, out of curiosity, what started it off for you, Steph? What made you think, right, I need to do a World Childless Week?
Because there was nothing out there, and I was fed up, basically, seeing all of these events across the year that were for parents. Or when I got excited about the fact that we had sort of a fertility awareness week in America and in the UK, and I was like, yay! And then by the end of those 7 days, it was like, oh, because it just was talking about fertility and how to achieve becoming a parent, whether it's through surrogacy, adoption, or this, that, or the other way. And there was nothing for us. And I thought, why the hell isn't there? So literally just whispered it to some friends and said, shouldn't we have a day for us? And it was like, yeah. And then I realised the day wasn't long enough because it's gone the blink of an eye. Come up and said, should we do a week? And they said yes, and then I got stuck with the fact that people said to me, what are you doing then? So I had to come up with something. And it literally was from that spark of seeing that we weren't represented and saying to friends, but we need to be. So, yeah, came up with the idea, came up with the structure, put it out there to the group that I ran at the time, and everybody came forward and said, yeah, I'm happy to send something in to you. So it went from me thinking, Christ, I'll have to do 7 days of me writing something badly about something or other to do with childlessness, really not having a clue. I've never been a blogger or a writer or anything like that. Thinking, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I start? Came up with an idea that I had a subject every day. I could literally search for other blogs that were already out there to add to the Facebook pages what it started on. But because the group I ran all gave me, basically go ahead and said, yeah, I want to send in a submission, it was like, wow, I don't need to be scared because it doesn't have to be me writing every day. It's the voices of everyone who matters. And that gave so much diversity to the stories and showing the different ways that we could be childless and the challenges that we faced, but also the celebrations that we could have as we slowly went through and still going through the grief of being childless. So it was a spark. It's just saying we're not seen when we need to be, and that's purely how it started.
Wow. Do you know what I love about it? I love your ambition that it was the world. It wasn't just Childless Week, it was the world.
Yeah.
The whole world is going to be involved in this.
Because it is, we are literally worldwide, aren't we? And I think because we're so visible, people don't see that we're there. They don't realise every street, every job, every sort of church, whatever you mention, that place has got people in it who are childless. So it had to be worldwide. It couldn't just be, just put all England, sticking, flag up in the air and waving. No, it's about everybody. And if we already feel ignored and cut out, what right I got to say? I'm just focusing on one little area. It has to be, otherwise I'm cutting out part of our community as well, or the mass majority of our community. So yeah, just a global or universally, I could go really big, but I stopped at Welsh. I think that's quite good.
But just think, wow. So wow.
Universal Child Week.
All aliens invited.
Maybe that's year 10, Steph, universal. Yeah.
Upgrade.
Yeah, I heard they got something that they launched recently. I was reading about it yesterday, about this kind of like gizmo thing. It's obviously not a gizmo, it's something very high tech that's meant to find sort of other life forms out there in the world. So yeah, there's, maybe year 10 they might have discovered that for you.
So this year's topics then, I was having a peep, and there's a couple that really, I think, are really indicative perhaps of where you're going as World Childless Week, because I looked back through the archives, but the one that I really loved was the pets one. Where did that come from? Is that something you know about, or is that just something you see us talking about as a community?
I tend to try and listen to what's a hot topic in the community. So certain years you'll suddenly find that all the support groups seem to be talking about the same subject. And I think, okay, that's going on their list. And there is a list of subjects that I've had for a few years now, and it keeps getting added to, and topics that have come up in the past haven't been forgotten. They're still added to the list. When we look at them at the beginning of the years, the ambassadors with me and stuff will all go, yeah, that's still floating around. It will get there one year. Maybe it hasn't got there yet, but it will do. But yeah, pets, it's something that not everybody, but so many of us have in the child's community. And they're incredibly important, and they really do make a difference to not just our day, but our lives and how we sometimes get through the really deep and dark times. So there was a webinar, I think it was last year or year before, about pets, and it was popular. Do you know what I mean? Just because of the pets, as I said, it just goes on continually. But it's also the fact we get criticised so often for calling them fur babies, and not everybody likes that term, and I don't mind. You know what I mean? You love it, you hate it, it doesn't matter. But it's the fact that sometimes we get criticised, and people are like, but your pet isn't a human. We know that, we're not stupid. We completely can see the divide between pets and humans. So it's almost the same as well, like, the submissions can be about how a pet saved us, how we saved a pet, what they mean to us, but also the fact that we're not stupid. We know the love for a child is completely different to the love for the pet, but it doesn't mean they're not equal or they're both true loves and things like that. So it's really open discussion for people to cover all aspects, because I've always had pets. I've always had rescue pets. And I can't imagine coming into a house that doesn't have an animal in it. I think it'd be really quiet and really weird for me personally. Not everybody feels like that. Yeah, pets are always being discussed. It's always the case. Lots of people say, I'm feeling a bit low. Send me, your pictures of pets. They're brightening my day. And it's just, it's a really positive subject. But there is that darker side where we get assumed that parents will often assume that we see pets as replacing children, and that's never, ever the case. So I think it'll be an interesting discussion and rounded on lots of different sides. But yeah, definitely something that's big time in our community, as you all know.
Well, yeah. I'm the same. I can't imagine life without pets, to be honest. I'm a crazy cat lady, and I'm quite happy to have that moniker, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
but I think you're right. I think there is more. Sorry, what's that?
No, I'm just saying, we've sort of said about the negatives of childless figures, and sometimes the crazy lady at the end of the street, but I'm quite happy to fit into that role. Do you know what I mean? That it doesn't really have to be surrounded by a four-legged friend.
I talk to my dog on walks. I have an entire conversation with Molly on walks. It's ridiculous. We actually play a game called Cheese Olympics. I won't explain the details, but there is a game we play up the coast where I walk home, and I just think my neighbours just have opinions on me, which is fine. It's okay. I don't care. But anyway, yeah, you can let me know about Cheese Olympics. But yeah, it's an entire kind of like another heartbeat, isn't it? I mean, for some people it isn't, but something they want, and there's other stuff people want to do in life. But it's one of those things that you'll often find is a nice, easy way into a conversation, because if people might not have a pet now, they might have had one before when they were growing up, or it might be something they want to think about in the future. It's a nice, common, easy way to perhaps start a conversation, I think, isn't it, with animals, and that caring as well.
It's also the aspect.
I had a whole conversation. Sorry.
That's what. So it's also the fact that you can have a conversation with a pet. It's confidential between you and a pet. So you can actually express things to a pet sometimes that you can't say to another adult.
Yeah.
You've got that confidentiality.
That is a really good point.
But you'll actually express it. Getting it out is what helps. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is also very true. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Thank you for, it is. It's, a rant and a rave about something that is not something you want to share with somebody else. But I think also maybe it kind of is a way of practicing a conversation sometimes as well. And a connection too. I certainly find that with a dog probably more than maybe with the cat, but we used to have a cat. But yeah, it's also a connection to people who come up and go, can I engage with you? And something else to sort of be around. Whereas sometimes it could be quite isolating, but yeah, without them. And speaking of which, sorry, if that was picked up, that's Molly having a yawn. She's hard to please. Sarah, you were going to ask a question then.
No, I was going to say, I think it's also a way of connecting with people. I had a whole conversation yesterday about cat politics in our neighbourhood with somebody that I don't really talk to, my neighbour, and we were there for ages talking about the cats. And have you noticed that Harvey up the road is having a ding dong with the other cat, and where's this other cat come from? We were talking for ages about cats. It's a connection, isn't it? It's a way to talk to somebody else rather than talk about children. So, before you know it, you've had a half-hour conversation about cats and come away happy. So,
exactly, yeah. Yeah, it's a really, really popular day, I'm sure.
We've got a comment from someone in the audience says, I think their instinct knows when you're upset too. Because Oscar certainly knows when I'm sad.
Yeah, especially if you've got
definitely. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they come to you and you're like, thank you. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, yeah. Just that calming thing of stroking an animal as well, isn't it? It just calms you down. So, yeah, so many benefits in my eyes.
I'm looking forward to seeing what other unusual pets that you have coming in, because I know of a few feathery pets and some scaly pets in our community as well. I've certainly I grew up with a minor bird, not very cuddly, but I'm looking forward to the variety of things that you're going to get to. I think it's going to absolutely fascinate and intrigue me as well.
When I was looking for a pet for the cover photo, I thought, cats, dogs, no. I mean, it's like chameleon. That's where I'm going. I wanted something that was different. You know what I mean? And to sort of say that we embrace not just for any kind of pet. You know, if it's fish, I know people keep fish and they real connection to the fish, and it's like it doesn't matter what it is. If it lives and it breathes, or it's underwater, you know what I mean? It's that connection that we make. So yeah, it's important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of connections like that. I think that perhaps we all observe and don't realise we've got a robin in our garden that I'm quite sure it's the same robin. I don't really know it's the same robin, but, you know, there's connections with wildlife as well. And we might have other associations perhaps with wildlife. And, you know, that can become quite therapeutic, I think, too. It's a focus, isn't it, in our days? We've put some bird feeders up, and they're just absolutely they're very greedy around here. I must say, it's constantly being topped up.
We have the same problem. Yeah, it's like, come on, feed the birds. It's like, they've eaten it all already. But yeah, and I just say it could be a connection with animals, with nature. It could be somebody goes to a rescue centre, perhaps, and they've got that connection there because they can't necessarily have an animal where they live. So it's just any connection really with animals. I just think it's important in discussing it. It's just. Yeah, it's got some really good highlights. I think it would be possibly quite a moving day. Things to hear of.
I think it will be.
Yeah.
What are the other themes that you've got, Steph, this year? What's the one you're looking forward to the most?
I think the pets one is interesting because we would discussed it, but because it's a bit of an offshoot from the norm, and it's, do you know what I mean? Like you say, it's friendly, but I find every day always pulls me in different ways. Do you know what I mean? Because gosh, I don't know, like Charles Person of Colour, but on the Tuesdays who started in the last few years, trying to do the subgroups within our community, because yes, World Childless, but within that, there are so many different groups of people that don't necessarily have heard, or they've got like additional hurdles that they feel they face. And I think highlighting these different groups each year is really important, because sometimes we're so scared so often to speak out that when you're in again, like I say, a subgroup, a minority within a minority, you think, oh, I can't speak out, there's nobody else is like me, because we've all been there, that we don't see any comparisons of what we're going through with somebody else. So by trying to, you know, specify certain groups, then we're sort of saying, come on, please speak to us, let us learn from you how we can embrace you and sort of help you be heard more as well. Because there's understanding that we all need in different groups to break down. Like, you know, we've done the Childless and Single, we've done child step parents. And we don't fully understand those groups if we're not part of them. But by sharing the stories, it shows that we're different, but we're similar, and we overlap in different ways. And we're just, you know, I'm constantly learning every single year from the submissions that I read. Always finding out new ways why somebody is childless, and if I didn't think of that before. And adding it to a list to try and share with other people in the community, that, you know, parents, childless, child-free alike, to sort of say, this is something I've not heard of. We've got to realise, I mean, that it's bigger than we know. So I think the subgroups day on Tuesday is really important for highlighting people and saying, you know, they're here and they deserve to be seen and heard just as much as anybody else. So that is one day I really sort of like it because of what the meaning behind it.
Is there any day in particular across the this is your 8th year, isn't it, that has really affected you? Is there like a day that you think about and think, oh, yeah, really, that was tricky reading the submissions?
Gosh, so much to think about over so many years. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing that straight away comes to mind. It's usually odd submissions that will get to me rather than a full day's work, because it could be the way they share their story and the emotions they share that just somehow pulls a trigger that gets to me more than another. And I couldn't say what that is, because I was explaining to you before we started the recording, saying that I have a bit of a barrier of a wall, so that emotionally I don't get too involved when I read submissions, because if I did, I couldn't cope with it. I'd be crying every day, and it would wipe me out emotionally. So I tend to build a bit of a brick wall. But every year they'll get to a point, I'll read a submission and the tears will come, but okay, that's the bugger that's broke me. And you do just get certain ones for some reason pulling you, and it's not because you necessarily relate to what they've gone through, but it might be how they've expressed it or said it, and you just think, I don't know why, but that it's got a connection to me. It means that it's odd submissions over the years. So there are some that I just think, yeah, I'll never forget that submission. There was one done in I think it was the very first year, about religion and church. And it was so powerful. And I do a word count on, a suggested word count, but I always say to people, if it goes under. Some people don't read it. Do you know what I mean? What I'm going to say, don't you? And this one, I remember thinking, gosh, it's really long. I hope people read it. And it's one of the submissions that gets read, I think, pretty much every week. It's always showing up as being there because it's just so powerful in the way it's written, the subject matter, everything about it just makes you think deeper. You don't have to be deeply religious to understand the meaning behind it and the segregation that's felt in saying, build us, connect us, don't just push us aside. And it is, as I said, it's just constantly being read. It's a really popular piece. So that stays in my mind. There was another submission. It was actually a video of someone doing a dance. And the dance moves, I don't know why, they hit me. So emotions going, say, that one gets to me. But it's also done with a piece of music by Kiara. So it's like the music is by somebody from our community. The dance was, for some reason, no words, just dance. Every single time it brings tears because it just connects with me. I can never get through talking about this piece about Brian, but there were just several ones across the years. And you all know I cry anyway. But there are just set pieces for some reason that get to you, and those two are two that I'll never forget. And I think that's down to the individual. And again, we all connect to different ones, and that is what is wonderful. The fact that it's not just like, one piece every year, so I've got 7 pieces that are great. There are hundreds of submissions that are all amazing in their individuality, and they will connect to different people in different ways. And that's what makes them so special. It's not connected to everybody, but connected to some and making them go, wow. In returning to it year after year to reread the words, which I know people do as well because they've told me that they can look back for submission and read it differently as well as they start to feel slightly lighter in the grief. They can read it differently, which is always a wonderful thing as well, but they still get something from it. So, yeah, I don't know, it's just a powerful thing. But as to individual days, being special, no individual pieces. So
Can we talk a bit about the ambassadors?
Sorry again, sorry.
About the ambassadors and what they do, because I think you get a lot of questions about that, don't you? And what is it that the ambassadors do, and how do they help you in World Childless Week?
I'll tell you something, being a Libra, I can be decisive, or I can be so bloody indecisive, it's a nightmare. And having ambassadors is amazing because they're there to be the voices of reason, the voices of understanding, the voices that give me different aspects to view things at. They are my backup crew, 100%. They're there when I say, come on, right, subjects, what are we going to do? And throwing in ideas, as I said, this list of subjects from previous year, or topics rather, they are the support team. They're when I've had struggles with my own health, they've been there to support me. You've done that, Berenice. You stepped in the 1 year and ran the week for me, dropped you in it last minute, and you were there to be my saviour. There's other times that people, I'm just there saying, oh my gosh, what do? I can't make a decision over this. Can you help me? But they can't help me with ideas. They're also there now doing webinars. So they're giving their voice to the website across the year, not just for World Childless Week, because they're in our community 24/7, 52 weeks in the year. Do you know what I mean? So having their visibility is important, but it's also a case of showing, I think it's showing that World Childless Week hopes to embrace everybody and anybody. And there are so many people that could be ambassadors. I could have 100 ambassadors because there's so many voices in our community speaking out now that weren't doing that 5 years ago. But it's wonderful to have that representation of these are some of the faces you can see. These are some of the faces who are making a difference in the small ways or the big ways, whatever it is. And they change over the years, they come and go. And again, that shows the flexibility of us, that we're constantly changing, renewing. We're not disappearing, but we're just doing our own little individual piece within a huge mass community. World Childless Week is unity. It's showing that we're coming together as as one massive voice to say we're here, we matter, will you bloody listen to us for a change? Listen to us, really listen to us, not just hear us, but listen to us. Listen to the emotions that are involved behind the words and the truth of the world through our eyes, not through your eyes. Try and have a little peek and see if you can understand us from a different aspect. So ambassadors help with that by participating during the week, being in the webinars, doing submissions, but also across the year. And it's just saying, yeah, we're all ambassadors. We're all doing our little bit to say, here we are, as you are in the podcast. And the champions, I think, I came up with that idea a few years ago, and I think it's a wonderful way of saying we can add a few more faces and show what people are doing, but the people's champion as well, saying, you vote for this person. It's not me. You're voting for this person. And it doesn't have to be the person with the most nominations. It's the person who you make me feel what you feel about them that makes them special. Whether it's an individual who's given you a one-on-one conversation and it's just completely changed your world, whether it's a book you read, whether it's somebody you see doing something weekly, monthly, it's just saying, recognising that person for what they're doing is just, oh gosh, it's hard to explain, but it's just getting faces out there, voices out there, and showing the expanse of who we are. And again, we are from the world. We're Hokkalobo. We exist everywhere. And slowly but surely, I think the faces, there's more of them. A lot more of them than there were, say, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And I can't fit them all on the website, but I'll try and get as many of you on there as I can. Almost. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I love the fact that the submissions, you can be anonymous. You don't need to show your face. If you want to, you can. Show it with pride. Do you know what I mean? Be brave and do that. But if you want to be anonymous, do that too. But for those who are confident, yeah, I want to say, here they are. This is what they're doing.
I love that. And also, one thing I wanted just to touch on that you just sort of mentioned in there too is putting pictures and the variety, I think, as well on the website. And I think that's one thing I've noticed is that you don't have to write. You can record, you can paint. There's so many ways that you can get involved. It's not just, if people are listening and thinking, I can't write or I don't want to write, then you accept other things too, don't you? There's video and all sorts, isn't there?
I love when I receive art, when I receive a photo. And I'll always say to somebody, if you send in a piece of art, send in a photo. I might look at it and instantly go, I understand what this is about. But there are other times I won't. And it's making that connection of what you pass in with the rest of our community. So if it's a photograph, it has a meaning because of when you took it, why you took it, what it represents to you. It's just doing a small paragraph, an explanation of the what's, the whys, the whens, the hows, so that we can see what you see in your artwork. But I love the expression. It could be a piece of pottery that you created and something about that pottery, what you had in your head at the time is what you felt when you dropped it into that clay. But we might not see it, but just send a description in with it and I'll share it. So we all express ourselves in different ways. So yeah, I love to see this. As I said, the dance and the music was what got to me. No written words, no set words. But again, if you wanted to do a monologue, record it without a screen. Just do the recording. You don't need to have your face there. You can still be anonymous. So, as you say, anything, if I put it on a website, I will put it on a website. If I can't, then we've got a problem. If I haven't put it on a website, I will put it on a website.
Steph, we will find a way. There's always a gizmo out there. That's when you email me, yeah. We find a way, it will work. I think I just want to touch on that art as well, is that actually it was last year, that I put something in on the art side, and it was, I hadn't done that for a while because of just this association, I think, with the artist and me, and just kind of packing it off to one side and going, okay, time, but also probably just a whole bit of grief there too. And it was just really nice to just do it and just go, okay, yeah, I'm just going to put it onto World Childless because I know that it will be there as a record, but also it's not like putting it onto a gallery wall in an exhibition or in the art groups I belong to. It's just there with lots of other interesting things. So it feels like it felt less pressure to do it, but it was just making a kind of like a statement. I could do something and contribute to that without it feeling like it was completely spotlighted, and I liked that. And it was just a tentative sort of just go in that direction for a bit. And perhaps that's perhaps echoing perhaps the growth of other people, like you touched on earlier, about people might just start off and be anonymous and then they put the name to something and then they might change their mind another time. There is that flexibility, isn't there, in kind of what you're accepting here, and how people just grow with their content, or, you know, just the grief grows around and changes, I think, around it too, doesn't it?
And like the fact that you sort of said that you weren't a standalone piece. You're actually in amongst people. And so you're not there alone. And I think, like you say, that's a different way of looking about how it is. Like, we're there together, we're not individuals. So it gives you that sort of piece of confidence then. But and one for Sunday for us, I want to say that you don't need to be an artist, a professional artist, to do this. I've always said that if it's a scribble, a doodle on a piece of paper next to something you're writing, but that scribble or doodle means something, that is just as important to me. If you tear that out from a scrapbook, so you can photograph it separately on a pinboard or whatever and send it in to me, because it's the meaning there. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? You don't have to be an artist. You've got your easel out, you've just got your canvas out and painted it. If I'm happy to accept that as well. But it's to say you don't have to be a professional. The same as the writing. It could be a poem. You think it doesn't rhyme, it's not the best, but it says exactly what I want to say at the moment. I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to read that. There are never any judgments on grammar. I can't spell great, so even if I do correct something sometimes, I'm paying to miss a few. But I don't care about the grammar. I don't care about the quality even of the photo. If I can see what it is that you're showing me, it's all about the thought, the emotion, and the expression, not about professionalism. It's not about that. That's not what World Childless Week is about. It's not a clean cut, shiny story. It's the dirt that goes on behind the scenes. It's the misery, the sadness, the happiness, the laughter, the tears. It's all of that. And I embrace that and I welcome that, and I love that. Really love that.
So we've got a comment from someone in the audience. They say, I follow Bentley the Maine Coon cat on Insta since his owner was on World Childless Week webinar. He's hilarious and brightens my day. And I know in the past, Steph, you've talked about a woman in Africa that reached out to you and said how much of a difference World Childless Week made for her. What other stories have you got about how people have fed back to you about how World Childless Week has helped, changed?
I've actually recently updated the website homepage to include a few quotes from people who have actually, as I said, I get messages back from newsletters or from World Childless Week, and saying that coming across World Childless Week has given them the confidence to speak out. Finding a webinar for the first time was the first thing that made them think, oh my gosh, do you know what I mean? But it's the little comments people just to say thank you for this webinar, this submission, just for World Childless Week. It just gives them confidence to know, one, they're not alone, two, they can speak out and have their voice heard, and three, they don't have to speak out, they can just read everybody else's. Do you know what I mean? But it just gives them the confidence to make that initial step, perhaps from feeling alone, hidden, ignored. So, and the story about Africa, which I'll explain, and again, this could bring tears, so I'm pre-warning you if it gets snuffles down in the microphone. That's just me being me again. But I know I can text it again. Woman in Africa contacted me to say, I can't even get through it when I'm going to say it's ridiculous, to say that she got across World Childless Week, and because of it, she was in Africa, and she started then reaching out to other women who were childless around her and further afield, and they would meet up and support each other and find that contact and that confidence with each other, because in Africa, where she specifically lived, it was believed that if you were childless, it was because you were a witch and you ate your children before they were born. So it wasn't just that, oh, you're childless and insignificant and pushing you aside. It was a fact that it was so deep and so horrific, and this message was pushed on all of the women as being low, as being witches, as eating the children. Just saying the idea of being a witch in the where they live was obviously awful, and they were pushed out probably because of that. But the fact it was then implied that they would eat their children, I just think, my God, that's just putting a horrific story and thoughts in your head that some people perhaps would almost start to consider that maybe it actually did exist like that they were that person, but they just didn't know it. And you just think, it's a horror story to me that carries on and that continues. But to know that somebody found the confidence to start a support group and reach out to people to sort of say, no, look at World Childless Week, we're being seen elsewhere, and there are positives there, and we can take from that. We're not these evil women. We can get strength from that. There's so much more. It just, like I said, see, I'm actually free that bit, and it is coming in at the end, but it just means a lot that we've done that. Not me, but we've done that by sharing. So, yeah, I know it makes a difference in little ways, but I know it makes a difference in big ways as well. And we don't know who we don't hear from. Who's also in the depths of despair or living in similar circumstances where they feel like they're nothing. But if they can find one submission and connect to it and know they're not that person, that they are normal. They're just a human, struggling with every day. There are positives to be found. There is happiness to be found. Then again, that one submission can make the difference to one person, and that's what it needs to do. That's all it needs to do. And we do it, which is wonderful.
It's a whole kind of cultural learning there as well, isn't there? That we can often, I think we found that with the podcast as well, that we can often assume our own stories are not necessarily representative of other people's, but we can kind of be a little bit in bubbles sometimes, I think, and what we experience maybe where we live, or in, you know, whether that's in our country or whether in our immediate kind of like sphere of knowledge, is it you get to learn about other people, and the website is just an encyclopedia of information resources. But World Childless Week is it's a huge resource, I think, of information over the 8 years that you've been doing it for many people to call on. It's not necessarily it just shares so much information with other people. It's quite incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a library. It's a library of our lives, our stories, and I just want people to realise that all of the past years are there, because I'm not just suddenly going to make them disappear after a year because they're not important. They are important, and they need to stay there, and they're there for reference, because each different daily topic has different aspects of our life. And as you say, we can refer to something, and there'll be times when we look at something and go, gosh, that's too much at the moment. I can't approach that day's topic because it's too raw, it's too painful. But it might be that weeks, months, or years later, you look at it and go, you know what? I want to face that now, because I'm going through understanding that aspect of me, and I want to hear how other people have perhaps dealt with it. And you can refer back and just pick one, or you can read the whole lot. And, you know, it's just having that option that it's there when you need it. And if it's not there, then hopefully it's a topic that will come up and it will get covered. But back to Student World Trust Week, we get to raise that one voice, but it's like it's a spot to network to sort of see, well, this podcast, this support groups, this books, there's all of our submissions for World Childless Week. But there's other things too, and it's just a case of go there and then find one of the branches on the website and go to where you need to go. So there's love to read, so let's link to this up, you know, so we can all find something that hopefully helps us in what we need at that moment in time, because that moment does change. And we might need to go back and find something different again, or think, that didn't quite resonate. Let's see what else is there. So, yeah, having all of the past year stuff, good resources, and hopefully people, you know, can find some benefit from the website. Yeah.
Someone's just put a comment in the chat about the website. I've just been looking at the homepage of the website. I love the slogan, "We are here for you through the year, and we get louder in September."
Yeah, been there since day dot.
Sorry, Sarah.
I love that
cut you
too.
off.
Yeah,
I love that. I remember you putting that on the website, Stefan, because I think we were riffing something one year. There was a story behind that about, I forget what it was. Was it something to do with BB Lynch? I can't remember. There was some story behind that going on there, and I forget what it was, but it was about that we're noisy all of the year. And I remember suddenly you came up with the words, and it just that's it. Yeah, that was it. It was trying to work out how to. I say we're gobby all the time, but there were lots of words exchanged, and some of them I think were sweary ones. But yeah. You came up with a clean version.
Yeah, believe me. Never afraid to speak out. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I often think of you at Paddington. Of course. Sorry, Sarah.
I thought you had something to say, Sarah.
Yeah, I thought you had the question. Yeah, sorry.
I'm so sorry. But quiet. I was like, I was going to say, Steph, it's we were talking, weren't we, before we start recording, and we're saying how much stuff you almost like an archive, isn't it, of what's gone before. But I was wondering, you said you've got like a secret list of stuff that you would like to potentially talk about, and I guess coming up. What's on that list? Can we be nosy and find out?
What was the word you just used? Secret? I think that was it. Ask your question.
No spoilers right here then.
Well, no, because the reason to it is I like the fact that we did do a bit of an announcement. Do you know what I mean? Like the Monday, Saturday, Sunday are always the same. But I think it's quite nice for people to have, what's coming up? And I know people say to me, can't wait to find out what the topics are going to be. So I think it just has that little bit of suspense. But it's like, as I say, it's topics that we've not yet discussed, but we keep adding to it and look through the bit there. And then they won't be secret. I'll let you know when they're not secret anymore. Maybe next year will they get announced?
It's false.
I know.
To be fair, we're much the same on the podcast. We're kind of like, we're doing a little bit of a teaser as to what's coming up, but we don't reveal always what we're doing for everything. So yeah. Well, isn't it nice though that there is stuff over 8 years and that you still have yet to explore? I mean, it's incredible. I mean, we keep thinking that at some point we'll stop recording the podcast because we'll run out of topics, but there's actually no chance of that right now. Just in case anyone was thinking we might stop with sorry, keep talking, because there's so much to talk about, isn't there? It's incredible.
And the thing is, there's certain subjects that people are like, can you do that again? It's like, we did that last year, we did that 2 years ago. So yes, it is a popular subject and I'm sure it will come back again. But in the meantime, we'll just leave it a couple of years and then repeat it. Do you know what I mean? Like Asian without children. Do you know what I mean? It's something people want to know about. It's just a wholesome topic. And it's like, yes, I know it will come back, but we're just leaving a few years and then it probably will get repeated again. So, yeah, there will be some that repeat because apart from that, it's different audiences coming in as people find out that they're not going to be a parent. And there is more information that perhaps is out there for aging without children. You've got more options to prepare for that than perhaps there were a few years ago. So there's certain things that need to be updated, and they will be, but not necessarily every year.
One of the things that we've been doing lately on the podcast is talking about allyship and about other people who might be affected by childlessness, not necessarily who are. And I'm wondering, have you got back and comments from people who are parents who've been influenced by World Childless Week and childfree, and other people who may have a connection but don't identify as childless, not by choice?
Some, not many, which is in a way, I think, disappointing. But there is some, and you just reminded me, actually, there's a page, just been so crazy the last few months, but a page that I do want to create about that sort of thing. And it's sort of, I've started but not finished it yet, because making the connections and building the bridges is what will help us make those leaps and those jumps, those tiptoe steps forward. But it's doing it in such a way that we don't hurt or upset or insult somebody by assuming that they perhaps know more than they should, because we feel like we've expressed ourselves, but we've perhaps not expressed ourselves to that particular person or that particular audience, or in a way that they've seen or heard about it. So yes, I think burning bridges is really important, but I think we have to do it very carefully. It's all good, because there is going to be some bounce back from some people where they don't necessarily want to know or hear, or disbelief basically in what we're saying. So it's a tricky one, but there are people out there that want to do it, and if we can connect to those first, and we've got more chance of saying we connect with them. Two parents. We connect with two parents, but they might connect with two or three more. And so it's like, I'm trying to think of that maths thing that went long. When you were a child, you had to throw the dice and it went to two options and it went to more tree diagrams. So we're actually sort of spreading out our branches and reaching out more. But we're reaching out through other people doing the reaching out for us, I think. Go to those groups. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's it.
I did sort of once approach the idea because somebody connected me who was a parent who had been child for a long time with infertility, but was a parent. They wanted to do a webinar. I reached out and did a survey and people didn't want it at that time. They didn't feel comfortable to have somebody who was that parent win World Childless Week. And the main thing is we've got 7 days. It should be about us. And I sort of almost agree with that a bit, that yes, it's 7 days about us while it other people in. So if it was something to be a webinar, I always feel like it could happen in the other 51 weeks of the year, not particularly in that 1 week. But it's something that I'm happy to talk to people about anything and everything childless, whether they be child-free parent or childless. And the more that happens, the better for us. And I think it's happening. We're seeing it happen. But as I say, it's still trickle boat. People say into a stream and a river. And we'll get there one day, and perhaps we won't need to have World Childless Week because we'll all be accepted for who we are, embraced for who we are as we grow up through our childhood, our teens, and 20s, something like that. But that's a good while off yet. So for the time being, at least 2 more years, it makes that 10-year bit for World Childless Week. So yeah, we keep talking.
That's fantastic stuff. Maybe it becomes a World Childless Day.
Who knows?
And we have cards and celebrations.
Yeah.
I think, wouldn't it? Yeah. It's an ambition. It's nice to know that perhaps maybe one day that might happen.
Yeah.
And we're all on an equal pegging. But I think in the meantime, yeah, there's a lot going on, I think, that's making that more likely. I think it feels like something that could be within reach, because like you touched on earlier about the fact that 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 15 years ago, I mean, I'd certainly feel 15 years ago there was absolutely nothing really going on, and to now have a website that's got so much listed on it in terms of resources and help for people is a huge achievement. And World Childless Week is one of many resources that gives people the confidence to go off and do those things. It's always nice to see.
Yeah, we're getting there. Like I say, it's tiptoes. Or rather loud shouts on some of us sometimes, but we're slowly getting there. And that's, like I say, a lot more than it was several years ago.
Absolutely, yeah. I just also wanted to pay testimony as well to you and the website and what you do with that, because I do remember when we first started with the website and the learning curve that you've been on. I mean, that must feel tremendous at times. Going from not knowing website to literally single-handedly you do this. For the record, Steph very, very, very rarely contacts me about anything to do with the website these days. And even then, it's when you've exhausted all avenues possible. So it's a massive learning curve for you.
One of this year, and then come back to it, I'm so sick, don't worry.
Yeah, you had. By the time I got your message, you'd be like, "Oh, I found this. I found out how to do it now." I was like, "Okay, all right, fine, off you go then." Just a quick check, it's all fine. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it must be a huge learning curve for you, though.
It has. Yeah. I think when you want to do something because it's from your heart and it's not for any other reason, then it's just you do. It's easier to let something then. And yeah, but no, I do love it. I love seeing what's on the website and how it is for everybody. Do you know what I mean? So no, makes me happy.
That's the important thing, isn't it? It is the drive to do good, but if it's driven by passion, then I think that just makes it alleviates the tech. And we'll keep that in mind when we fire up Riverside next time. Any more questions in the chat at all?
Just actually not a question, but just someone who would like to tell Steph that I hope that Steph knows how inspirational she is.
Thank you.
You are.
It's always lovely to get a compliment. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to say I don't like getting compliments. Like, yeah, nice, thank you very much. Do you know what I mean? About everything. But I still say, like, yes, I was the spark, but our community is the fire. It's World Childless Week all together. So
I love that analogy. That's a very beautiful analogy. And you're going to be at the Glory House this year? as well? You're hoping to be there?
Hopefully I'm going to be there, yes. I've booked the hotel and booked the ticket and everything. So, yeah, hopefully I'm be there. I was a bit exhausted, the same as last year, but
Good.
yeah. Come up for a hug. Anybody and everything. Hug. And if I'm falling asleep, nudge me. Don't let me snore or drool. That's the other thing. Snore or drool, just come up, give me a hug. A nudge.
Fantastic, lovely. Well, thank you very much, Steph, for joining us today and taking the time to talk about World Childless Week and the 8 years that you've been doing, sparking ideas for lots of people and creating this fire. And we're looking forward to taking part this year. We really thoroughly support World Childless Week. Michael and I have been ambassadors. Sarah's been a people's champion. So we're thoroughly on board with World Childless Week. We absolutely love what it does in terms of giving people that confidence to read, to like, to contribute, whatever form they show up. I know that's one of the big things that you talk about, is that there's lots of ways to get involved in World Childless Week, even if that's a like or a comment, it's still a contribution. So thank you.
Well, thank
That's
you
good to
for
see you,
having me on,
Steph.
as you say. No, it's been great to chat to you and see you and speak about World Childless Week and how amazing it is because of our community. So, yeah, I love the spark, but love the flame more.
Thank you for listening. We hope you found Steph's words as inspiring as we did. We also love to hear from you about any thoughts you had. Will you be creating for World Childless Week? Did you learn something new? You can feed back to us on our social media accounts on LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram, and we also welcome reviews on all of our listening channels. Check out the show notes to get in touch with us and learn more about World Childless Week on our website, www.thefullstoppod.com. We also welcome all who identify as childless not by choice for any reason into our diverse online community where you can carry on the conversation, take part in future podcasts and gain support from each other. We're also supporting members as they create for World Childless Week. Again, you can check out more information on our website. And as ever, it's important for us to let you know you are not alone. We're still going to say you're an inspiration, and you're going to have to just deal with that. You are an inspirational lady and a very good friend of all of us.
I'll make a badge.